Hi there, this is Lee, and I'm talking about public affairs again today. Today's topic is Berniecrats and Greens down ballot. I've discussed that before earlier this summer, but we're getting closer to the end of the primary season and drawing closer to the fall. And so it's getting real intriguing lately. And I am focusing on Michigan. I talked about Michigan before, Michigan Greens Rising, about the fact that there are so many Greens running for office down ballot in the state of Michigan. And I think that it's a direct result of the Flint water crisis, and then also maybe the harm caused by negative trade deals on the workforce and many other issues of concern in Michigan. But something inspired the Michigan Green Party to send out candidates to be put on the ballot for this fall. And I talked about several of them, and I've met several of them at the Green Party convention. I'm specifically focusing on Michigan just because it's such an interesting state that went so hard for Bernie Sanders, and that it's a swing state. It could go red, it could go blue, it could go green. So it's very interesting times in Michigan. And it's a microcosm of North America. It's Middle America. It's a Great Lakes area, considered the Rust Belt. And so lots of stuff happening in Michigan. The other reason why I was inspired to create this video is the fact that I've been seeing some, I wouldn't say hostility, but let's say conflict. We'll call it that, conflict between those who want to follow Bernie Sanders' example of reforming the Democratic Party and therefore wanting a blue Congress and therefore wanting to vote blue to turn the Congress blue. And then there are those who are wanting to not come to heel, we'll say, or fall in line, or support a party that actually supports a candidate at the top of the ticket who was proven to have won the Democratic primary over Bernie Sanders through malfeasance. So there's that and there's this. And so you have those who want to support Bernie Sanders and what Bernie Sanders says to do. And then there are those who want to be focused on a progressive platform and they're trending towards Jill Stein. And I've seen that, back and forth. And I'm going to say right now that you probably should be cautious or I would highly recommend caution when focusing on the cult of personality. That has no place in politics. This is your life we're talking about. We're not talking about Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein. We're talking about your day-to-day local life that you have to live and that you have to safeguard as a voter, as a citizen. You have to look out for yourself, not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders takes care of Bernie Sanders. You, the citizen, you, the voter, need to focus on your life and your community and vote to support your life and your community, not the cult of personality, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Gary Johnson, whether it's Hillary Clinton, whether it's Bernie Sanders, whether it's Jill Stein. You have to vote your best interest. Okay, so there's that. I'm also going to say that rather than focusing on turning the Congress blue, focus on turning the Congress progressive. The reason why I say that is blue Congress is not reliable. At least there were some congressmen in the House and the Senate who voted for the Iraq War. George Bush could not have passed that resolution to have that authority for military reprisal against Iraq without Democrats voting for him. There were Democrats in Congress who voted for the Patriot Act, not once, but twice. Hillary Clinton was one who did that. There were Democrats in Congress who voted for the bankruptcy law. There were Democrats in Congress who voted to fast track the Trans-Pacific Partnership. There were Democrats who voted to pass the GMO labeling bill. So rather than focusing on turning the Congress blue, focus on turning the Congress progressive. So the recommendation for this fall when you are voting, and let's just say you're voting in Michigan, focus on voting progressive. What does that mean? That means you may be voting for an independent who is progressive to safeguard your interests, because Republicans and Democrats have proven themselves able to flip-flop and maybe put their interests above yours. You may be voting green because, again, Democrats and Republicans have shown themselves with no problem of putting their interest above yours. And some of them have been supporting the president, representing the president, rather than the people in their districts, which they are supposed to support and represent. They were sent to Congress to represent the state, to represent the district, and instead they're representing the president. They're not doing their job. So rather than vote for people who are not doing their jobs, vote for a progressive who will actually represent the people. So they may be independent, they may be green, they may be socialist. You got to think. You got to think for yourselves instead of being told. Do your research and really pay close attention this fall. We're at a turning point. In fact, Trans-Pacific Partnership is that turning point. Frankly, for me, I think anyone who voted to fast-track Trans-Pacific Partnership, I don't think they need to stay in Congress anymore. That was very irresponsible. Let's see. And specifically, I'm going to just mention two congressmen in Michigan that may bear watching. I'm not going to say what they're going to do. I can only say this is what they have done, and based on that, they bear watching maybe. And then I'm going to go into a quick discussion of the Berniecrats and Greens who are going to be on the ballot in the state of Michigan this fall, and maybe suggest a strategy for those who are voting. So there are two congressmen in the state of Michigan who hit 3 out of 4 criteria that bear watching because of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Mitch McConnell has said that he would not bring Trans-Pacific Partnership for a vote this fall in the lame duck session. That's what he says. That's what he says, this past week. What will he say next week? We don't know. I'm just saying, just be aware that Barack Obama is actually trying to lobby Congress to vote on it in the lame duck session. Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan are saying that the votes aren't there. I'm saying to you, the electorate, you need to just be very watchful and vigilant, because we've seen and heard all kinds of things. Just watch and be vigilant and just make sure. There are two people, if you are in the state of Michigan, that you need to take care of, because I said that there are 4 likely groups who will be vulnerable to Barack Obama's lobbying, his arm twisting and double fisting to get Trans-Pacific Partnership passed in lame duck session. The congressman who voted to grant fast track authority, that's one group. The congressman who voted for the GMO dark bill just recently, because it seems like they're still voting for the corporations, the manufacturers, rather than the people and the food and the people who are the consumers. And then there's another group. These are the ones who are retiring, who may have no accountability for their votes in a lame duck session. These three groups are the ones who bear watching. And then there's a fourth group, the ones who are going to be voted out of office. So we're not there yet. But there are two people in Michigan who meet three of that criteria. They voted to fast track TPP. They voted for the GMO dark bill, and they are retiring. That means their votes for Trans-Pacific Partnership are going to be up to grabs for Barack Obama. They voted for him before by fast tracking. They voted for the corporations with the GMO dark bill. They're retiring. That means they have no official accountability to the state of Michigan, to their districts, to the people, to the electorate, to the voters that sent them to Washington. It's, they're done. They're not going to seek another term, so they can basically do whatever they want to in the lame duck session. And they've already done what they wanted to so far with their votes. So they will be vulnerable to Barack Obama if the Trans-Pacific Partnership does make it to the floor for the lame duck session, despite what Mitch McConnell has told us. Who are those people? Cadis Miller is one. She's a representative. She's in the U.S. House for the state of Michigan. She voted to fast track. She voted for GMO dark bill. She's retiring. Her vote for Trans-Pacific Partnership is vulnerable. I think I'm not going to say to you what to do. I'm going to just suggest you might want to have a conversation with Cadis Miller and see what she's thinking about. She's a Republican. She's a House member in Michigan. She's retiring, and she's got votes to hand away or sell or hand away. And it's the same case with Dan Benishek. He voted to fast track Trans-Pacific Partnership. He's a Republican in Michigan in the House, and he voted to fast track Trans-Pacific Partnership. Like Cadis Miller, he voted to grant his vote for the GMO dark bill, and then he's retiring. So Cadis Miller and Dan Benishek, you might want to watch them. Those of you in Michigan, just maybe contact them and see, are you planning to vote for TPP? And what are you thinking about? What's on your mind right now? Okay, so back to the people who are going to be on the ballot this fall in Michigan. I made the video earlier about Michigan's Rising. I'll try to remember to leave that link to that video in the description. But I just want to make sure that whether you still support Bernie Sanders, or if you have migrated over to Jill Stein, or if you're supporting Hillary Clinton, this is for the viewers who are progressive on their issues and want to see that this country move in that direction. Certainly the state of Michigan. If you are progressive and you are voting in Michigan, it's good to pay attention to what's happening down ballot, regardless of what's happening at the top of the ticket. It's not even good enough to turn Congress blue. It's probably best to turn Congress progressive. And so we're looking for progressive Democrats, not Democrats, progressive Democrats, Berniecrat Democrats, Bernie-leaning Democrats. You'll find them on a list that was created, and it hasn't been updated since like July of this summer. But you will find that list at a link called Berniecrats.net. And on that list, state by state, you'll find Bernie-leaning Democrats. They are progressives. You might also find some Greens and Independents on that list as well. Because some states, there's independents that consider themselves Berniecrats. They're Bernie-leaning Independents. They're Bernie-leaning Greens. For instance, Aaron McConey, he's a U.S. Senator. He's a candidate for the U.S. Senate from Colorado. He endorsed Bernie Sanders. And so now, of course, he's supporting Jill Stein. He's a Green. He's also a Berniecrat. You'll find them on the list, but you won't find all the Greens listed there. For instance, the Michigan Greens aren't listed on the Berniecrats list because they just held their convention so late in the summer that they didn't make it on the list. Okay, so we're looking for progressive Greens, progressive Democrats, progressive independents, maybe some socialists in the state of Michigan. And that's the extra insurance for the voter. That's your insurance against the president. Because we don't know if it's going to be Donald Trump or Gary Johnson or Hillary Clinton, or if something goes wrong with Hillary Clinton, it might be Bernie Sanders. It might be Jill Stein. So your representative that you vote into Congress, that's your check against the president. And right now, Barack Obama is just, his mind is not even on what he needs to do. I don't know what his mind is on, but I think he's losing focus. This whole Trans-Pacific Partnership debacle, that's only one example. But we do need our congressmen to act as checks on the president, not just to lay down for whatever the president wants. They're supposed to provide congressional oversight to whatever the president does. That's your check. Whoever you send into Congress, that's your voice to check the president. And if you're progressive, you want your Congress to be as progressive as possible. Not as blue as possible, not as democratic as possible. You want your Congress to be progressive. And so that might also mean green and independent representatives. Okay, so there's the question of, well, what happens if there is a down ballot Berniecrat who is running for an office against a green? What's going to happen? If you're in the state of Michigan, that's not going to be a problem, because in the state of Michigan, there are only a few Berniecrats, Bernie-leaning Democrats on the ballot this fall. The rest of them are centrist, center-right, willing to deal with the Republican Party when and if necessary. They're more Hillary Clinton-leaning Democrats. They are not Berniecrats. They are not Bernie-leaning Democrats. I'm going to go to Berniecrats.net list that I have somewhere. Yeah, see if I can find it. Okay, I think I'm going to have to come back to that. Okay, so there's only about 2 Berniecrats who are running for U.S. Congress. And okay, I got it right here. It's in front of me. There are only 2 progressive Democrats in the state of Michigan who are running for U.S. House. That person is in the 3rd district as well as the 6th district. And so I know okay, let me just get myself together here. Okay, so let's see. It's Dennis Black. He's running, wait. Okay, I promise I have it now. Douglas Smith. He is running for the House, for U.S. Representative. He is a progressive Democrat. He is a Bernie-leaning Democrat. He is progressive, and he is needed and wanted by progressives in the U.S. Congress as part of the House. He is running in the 3rd district. So you do have a progressive Democrat in the 3rd district. His name is Douglas Smith. And if you go to Berniecrats.net, you'll see links on how to contact him. You also have Paul Clements. He is also running for the U.S. Congress as a representative in the 6th district. Those are the only progressive Democrats on the ballot this fall. 3rd district, 6th district. The other Democrats are centrist. They are Hillary Clinton, Republican-leaning Democrats. You don't necessarily want them. So when people say blue Congress, no, progressive Congress. Douglas Smith, Paul Clements. Okay, so Greens are also progressive. They are Jill-leaning. Some of them are Bernie-leaning. But most of them are Jill Stein leaning, who is 90% aligned with Bernie Sanders. So there's 90% overlap. If you send a Green into Congress, they will vote for a Bernie type platform 90% of the time. They will vote for a Jill Stein type platform 100% of the time. So if you have a choice between a centrist Democrat and a Green, vote for the Green if you are progressive. The good thing is, in the state of Michigan, there is no overlap. The Greens who are on the ballot are not in the 3rd district. They are not running against the progressive Democrat. They are not in the 6th district. They are not running against the progressive Democrat in the 6th district. The Michigan Greens who are progressive running for the House, Ellis Bull, U.S. House 1st District, Matthew Brady, 2nd District, Jordan Salvi, 4th District, Harley Mickelson, 5th District, Maria Green, 8th District, John McDermott, 9th District, Benjamin Knox, 10th District, Dylan Calawarts, 12th District, Marcia Squire, 14th District. So there are Greens who are progressive. Well, they all are progressive. They are running in the 1st District, 2nd District, 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th, 14th. And then you have 2 progressive Democrats running in the 3rd District and the 6th District. There's no overlap. So if you are a Green or if you are a progressive Democrat, if you're an independent, if you're a Republican, if you're a socialist, but this year you say, I want to vote progressives into the Congress to serve as watchdogs on our president, you can feel comfortable in the fact that you will not be causing conflict. There's no overlap. And I'll have this all listed out as best as I can, either in the notes section. I'll make notes to put inside the video, and hopefully it'll make sense. So I just wanted to make sure that that's understood. If you are progressives, there's no conflict. Most of the Greens know better than to run against a progressive Democrat because that's too much overlap. They run against the conservative Democrats who are Republican leaning or consider themselves moderate, but they're willing to deal away their representation to a Republican. And when I say that, I mean the type of Democrat who goes to Congress as a senator and votes for the Iraq War, votes for the Patriot Act not once, but twice, votes for the bankruptcy law, votes for all kinds of things that support the Republican Party rather than progressives. You want the progressive to vote a progressive platform. Okay, so that's U.S. Congress. I'm even going to go so far as the State House because it's the same issue. If you're progressives, you don't want to split your vote. You always want to vote progressive, not necessarily Democrat all the way down the list. You want to vote progressive, and that can be an independent candidate, that can be a Green, that can be a Democrat. It's a matter of knowing what the platforms are. So in your local state house, there are, let's see, okay. In the state house, there are 4 Berniecrats. They are Bernie-leaning Democrats. They are progressive Democrats, and they want to go to the state house, not the U.S. Congress, the state house. And so Dennis Black is on the ballot as a state representative. He wants to represent the 6th district. Dennis Black, he's a Berniecrat. He's Bernie-leaning. He's a progressive. He's on the ballot for 6th district. Nicole Reed, same thing, state representative. She wants to go to State House in the 22nd district. Elaine Petrucci, 23rd district, Bernie-leaning progressive. Sean Mullally, he's a Democrat. He wants to go to the State House in Michigan for the 92nd district. All of them are progressive. If you're a progressive, in your thought, in your philosophy, in your politics, they're safe to vote for into the state house. Okay. And so that means let's look and see who's running as a green, not as a Democrat, but as a green who is progressive, who's leaning towards Bernie 90% of the time, and then Jill Stein 100% of the time, which means that they will support a progressive platform. Dan Finn is a green running for the State House in the 4th District. Tiffany Hayden, 11th District. Maureen Sims, State House, 22nd District. Artelia Marie Leak, 29th District. Eric Beauregard, 52nd District. Joseph Stevens, 53rd District. John Anthony, 63rd District. Michael Anderson, 70th District. Dina Broderick, 83rd District. Cliff Yankovic, 86th District. Wade Roberts, 109th District. They are all Greens. And so they should be safe to vote for. However, I just discovered one conflict. I thought I looked at this pretty closely, but there is one conflict. Nicole Reed, she's a progressive, Bernie leaning. I believe she is a Democrat. She is running for the State House in the 22nd District. And then there's also Maureen Sims, who is running for the State House in the 22nd District as a Green. So you'll have to work that out. But anyway, where can you find this information? You can go to Berniecrats.net and you can find your state of Michigan and see who's on the ballot as a Berniecrat. And then you can also go to the Michigan Green Party to see who the Green candidates are and see if you can vote for a Green in your district. Either way, with a Berniecrat or a Green that you send into office, if you are progressive, you are doing the right thing by voting for one or the other. And the only conflict that you'll have is with Nicole Reed or Maureen Sims in the 22nd District. You'll have to figure out for yourself and say, may the best woman win. And maybe they'll have a debate and you can figure it out that way if they debate each other. But definitely, if you're progressive, it's nice to have a multitude of candidates to vote for instead of no one to vote for. We can vote for the greater good in the state of Michigan, certainly, instead of the lesser evil. Good luck this fall.